Hey family, welcome to the house. So today we have Donteacia Seymour, who is the Chief Inventor from Florida. Welcome, Donteacia.
Hi. Hello.
Now, I forgot my tea or my margarita, but you got a lot to share today. I'm really excited. Let me tell you, Donteacia is always ripping and running. She has her own businesses, but let me tell you, y'all are going to want to lean in for this episode. So Donteacia, share with us, because you know we're nosy, a little bit of your love journey. Where you been when it comes to love?
Journey?
Yes.
The journey and the story are two different things. The journey is riddled with like heartache and heartbreak and fear and hope and all of those things, right? Like the journey is many men over many years.
many men.
many men over many years. Some central characters who were kind of staples for a while, like my daughter's father, that just didn't work out. They didn't fit for whatever reason. But the love story and the journey of the current love story actually dates back 12 years. People are always surprised when I tell them. They're like, oh, so when did you guys meet? I'm like, 12 years ago. We met 12
years ago?
He was
Wait,
to bring it back.
Wait, so let's pause because we don't want to get into the love story before we got back to how we got back to the love story even starting. So I have this event called the Success in Love Summit for Professional Women. And Donteacia, you've been a part of my world for a minute. Like, what did you think when you first saw this event? Like, really?
So I had what I like to call a COVID companion. I think a lot of people had COVID companions in 2020. Right? I had a COVID companion, and we kind of ended things in December because I knew that I just didn't want to bring that into 2021. I'm like, I'm leaving COVID in 2020. I'm leaving him there too, right? Because we met right before the pandemic and the shutdown, and he was my safety bubble. So I was like, let's keep this thing going for as long as we can. But it was just so bad. It was just a bad mix, a bad pair. It was really toxic. There was a lot of pain. Like we had a trauma bond. We both were coming off of painful years. In 2019, I had just lost my aunt to cancer. He had just lost his world championship title. Like there were all kinds of things that were happening for the both of us. And when we met, we had a lot of, similarities, like where we went to school and some friends. And so we kind of just bonded through that, and then also through our trauma, just through the pain. But we weren't supposed to be together, and then COVID happened. And it was like, keep the people that you got around you close, because those are the only people you can be around. Right. And so that thing lingered for the entire year. And I knew multiple times throughout the year to like end it, but it was just so difficult. And then finally, like most people are like, I'm not going into 2021 making the same mistakes I made in 2020. I'm not doing it. And so ended it. Just like, this isn't working. We both know this isn't meant to be. And so I was like, I'm having fun in 2021. It's going to be a hot girl summer, hot girl year. All kinds of stuff is happening. And that was the plan. But right before that happened, my ex popped up in December.
They go popping up again.
He popped up and he was just like, I want to talk. And we had a very long conversation. And by popped up, he flew down here from New York and was like, I'll be at the airport in a little bit. And I was just like, no, there was a lot of pain from that situation. So no. And so I came into 2021 with this intentional focus to just focus on myself, to not be in a relationship, to just like heal and move through everything. Yeah. And then I remember seeing like you post several times. I'm like, forget success in love. Like, who needs love? I got success in business. I got success in life. I'm an amazing mother. My daughter's like salutatorian. Like, I'm successful. I don't need success in love. I'll get back to it when I get back to it. Mm-hmm. And my ex just kept hitting me up. And then I had a therapy session because therapy is healing.
Yes, yes.
And she was just like, what exactly do you want your life to look like? Forget 2021. And then we outlined that, and love was right there at the center.
Look at that.
Even with my business coach, love was right there at the center. It's like, you can run from it because it's so easy for us business women to throw ourselves into work, to throw ourselves into our children and be like, love is secondary. We'll get around to it eventually. And it was maybe the 5th or 6th time I saw the Success and Love Summit come up right after that session. And was like, if love is at the center, because I had just had a VIP day with my coach. And it was all things in excellence was the theme for the year, and standards was at the top of that. And I was like, well, if I want to make love a priority at some point this year, let me just do some groundwork. My plan was just groundwork. Let me just do some groundwork on success when it comes to love, so I can implement this when I'm actually ready in fall. That was the plan.
The fall.
The plan was just to do the groundwork and to come back and and dig in after my hot girl summer. Like, that was the plan. As you know, that is not what happened. That's not
oh my gosh. Okay, so then you signed up for the summit.
Yes.
So tell us, like, what happened when you attended?
So funny enough, I was going to skip it. I signed up and I wasn't going to go. It was Super Bowl weekend, and a lot of friends were going over to Tampa for the Super Bowl. I currently live in Orlando. I booked a resort in the Sarasota Lone Boat Key area, and I was going to go to the beach for a few days. And I was just like, I'm getting away from people. I'm going to meditate and figure out like what the rest of this world of mine looks like now that I know what I want to be at the center. And I was going to skip it. And I remember having coffee with a close friend of mine that morning, and he said, you signed up for a reason. He's like, as soon as the summit is over, go to Lone Boat Key. But for now, do the summit. You're supposed to be there. And he was just like drilling me. So you can thank Dennis. Yeah, Dennis is the reason I showed up, because he was at coffee like, no, you're going to the summit, girl. I'm so tired of you talking about love. You're going to the summit. And so I went, and I was just like, I had my notes. I was ready. I'm like, all right, let me see what's wrong with me. Let me see what I need to fix. And, really, you hit it in the very beginning, because it was like, here are the 5 reasons why professional women don't date. I don't have time. I'm this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And all of these excuses we make. And you were like, which one are you? And I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I was like, I'm all of them. And that's all self-inflicted, right? Like, that's all here. Something I've created for myself, a narrative that I don't have time for this. I'm too busy for this. I've been too hurt. Like, all of these reasons that we build up these walls, because when you're running a business or multiple businesses and raising a child, you can't afford heartbreak. Right. You can't afford that time, that downtime, especially when you don't have a person to kind of help through that. So I was just like, all right, so she got me. First 5 minutes. Let's see how we overcome this. Right. And the breakout sessions probably were the most, they had the most impact, because we broke out into these little groups of 5 women. We talked about our current relationships, what we wanted in love. And when you start to hear other women talk about their experiences, what they're going through, what they want, and then you realize, 1, that you're not alone. 2, that you got people calling you out like, girl, you tripping. Like, you legit might be tripping right now, who aren't your friends. Right? Because your friends, they want to support you and love you regardless of your decisions. But these strangers are going to tell you, you self-sabotaging. Right. You're running scared. Right. I don't understand why. Like, this happened. We get it. You were heartbroken. We get it. It wasn't intentional. He didn't try to hurt you. He had to leave. He had to go home. It wasn't a you thing. It was a him thing. And he had to work through that with his child. And I was just like, but he left. And they were like, but he had to leave. Right. And so, like, that reframing of what happened from total strangers, not my friends, not my therapist, actually opened me a little bit to where I was like, you know what? That wasn't about me at all. That wasn't about me at all. And as we're having this conversation, this man calls during the Success and Love Summit. Like, once I made the decision, like, you know what, I'm going to release this fear. I'm going to forgive and maybe see if we can have some friendship. He's calling during the summit. And I'm like, y'all, the way the universe works and energy, like how it collides. I was like, he's calling right now. They were like, are you kidding? I'm like, no. And then he texts like, just checking on you. How are you doing? And that was like halfway through the summit.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So here you had a great experience. You had a breakthrough in the first 5 minutes.
Yes.
You had these great connections that called you out to help you say, what?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you said, well, just maybe, he calls you.
Yes.
So now after the event, just what happened in terms of connecting with him?
So I went to Longboat Key because water is very cleansing. So I actually went to Longboat Key because it's right in the Gulf, and the Gulf has salt water. And so they talk about cleansing, like releasing trauma and everything with a saltwater cleanse. And so my whole purpose was to go down there and meditate, to release whatever pain, energy, and trauma, even before that realization. That was always the plan because I did want to move forward this year in love. And so I went down there, and I'm like doing all of my meditations, and I'm doing my saltwater deep cleanses and all kinds of stuff. And he's like texting, and we have a phone conversation. Now, two things happen, because when something is going right, fear finds its way back in. So the COVID companion is texting, right? And he's just like calling, and it becomes even more clear that this thing is so wrong. And then there's a random guy from a couple of years ago who lives in town who's in constant communication while I'm there, just because monkey wrench, let's just throw it all in a pot and see what happens, right? And then finally, I'm having a conversation with him, and he had asked me before, maybe a month or so before, if I would ever be able to forgive him and to be open to us trying, even if it's just him coming and spending a week and us figuring it out. And I told him in January, I was like, no. Like, I don't think I could get over it. I don't think I could forgive you. He really didn't do anything that I felt betrayed because he left, but it wasn't about me, right? It was about his dad who was having surgery, who was sick, and it wasn't about me, but I felt abandoned in that moment because of everything that was happening in my life. And so I kind of felt like, will I ever be a priority? Is there ever going to be any loyalty? Because our story starts 12 years prior, where he left me 12 years prior to go take care of his small daughter up in New York. So that was the second time he had left. So for me, it's like, you're always going to leave if there's a familiar priority. And so I wasn't ready. But the summit, the ladies, the conversations, and then just the release, just the release of it all in a place that was special to me, which is the beach. Like, if you guys follow me, I spent a lot of time at the beach. We were in the middle of a global pandemic last year, and I went to the beach 22 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, 22 times in 12 months. My credit card bill was ridiculous. You would have thought I traveled to Africa 5 times and back for my credit card bill going to resorts in Florida. And then we just had a really long conversation, and I remember him saying, if I come down there this time, this is it. There's no tiptoeing. There's no, let's see if it's going to work out. He's like, you and I have always been forever, and we've always known it, but there's always been these things in the way, these things we had to take care of, timing, kids, family. He was like, but we've always been forever. So if I come down, we're not going to see if it works out. We are making the decision to work out. And I said, let me get back to you.
Oh,
but in all fairness, it only took me a few hours. I just needed to digest what that all meant and what that meant in terms of really releasing fear and stepping into love. My daughter just happened to be away for the month at her dad's in February.
Yeah.
So he came down. The next day, we decided to change our relationship status on social media. And then 10 weeks later, I said yes.
That's great. Come on. Pop it on him.
Pop it on him. It's like it's so big. It's like you can't even see it. It's
over
big.
the whole finger. Oh my goodness.
And it's not even the wedding band.
That's crazy. I was like, there's like 19 bands on there and the wedding band ain't on there.
It's not on there. It's not on there. It's he had a point to prove.
Propose?
At the beach. So sunset, I love sunsets and beaches. And so I said I wanted some seafood and some sunset. So we drove over to St. Pete. And we were just out there at a spot that I love on St. Pete, listening to the music. Meanwhile, there's 20-something-year-olds sitting at the table next to us. He somehow managed to have a whole conversation with them and enlisted them to go ahead and write, "Will you marry me?" in the sand. And so I'm just like, it's sunset time. And he's like, "Are you ready to go?" I was like, "Oh, I guess we can walk and watch the sunset." So we're walking. I'm oblivious. Like, so let me say this. I knew he was going to propose. I don't care what anyone says. If you're paying attention and you're energetically aligned, you know it. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew it, but I still was oblivious. Like, I even said to my friends, I think he's going to propose today. I could just kind of feel it that morning because he was like looking at me and singing and like doing all kinds of weird stuff. And I was like, oh, he's about to propose. But I didn't think it was going to be that way. And we're walking and he's letting me talk about hurricanes and how the Gulf water is warm water. And that's why the hurricanes are worse in the Gulf and just all kinds of stuff that just is nonsensical. But he's letting me go down my rabbit hole because I am not aware that 100 feet up, there are 3 people writing, "Will you marry me?" in the sand. Completely oblivious. I'm taking videos with my phone of the sunset and the birds and the waves. Whole conversations. So we get down. He's like, "Oh, let's walk because you're trying to go to this spot that you want to go to." I was like, "That's in downtown Tampa. That's not down here." He's like, "Well, let's just walk a little bit and watch the sunset." And so I'm trying to get him to sit down at the bench so we can watch the sunset at the bench. He's like, "No, we're gonna walk." I'm like, fine. And so we get to the "Will you marry me?" Now there are people walking / running away from that "Will you marry me?" in the sand. So I'm thinking they got engaged. So I said, "Babe, I think someone just got engaged. I think it was them." I'm like turning and I'm pointing. "I think it was them." And he was like, "Oh yeah." And then he pulls my hand and I turn around and he's down on one knee. And I was like, "Oh, this is for me." I was so oblivious. Because it's like, I thought it was going to happen just like us sitting at a park, like at the beach at night or somewhere just randomly at home when we got back. I was going to turn around and I just thought it was going to be something really simple. And even though that was simple, I wasn't expecting that, right? That was a gesture. So then he was like, "Do you promise to be patient?" He gave me all these prerequisite questions first before he asked me, "Do you promise to be patient and let me handle this?" And blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And so finally I said yes. And that was engagement. 10 weeks after the Success and Love Summit, I said yes.
Gosh. Oh, congratulations.
Nuts. Right, seriously.
I was straight tripping, girl. So, all right. So if someone right now, a busy professional woman, is contemplating either working with me or attending the summit, what would you tell them?
Don't hesitate. Like, seriously, don't hesitate. Because what they don't know is that you and I go back to my original heartbreak in 2019. So I was dealing with some original heartbreak and I did I think it was a 4 or 6 week program of moving through the heartbreak and like all of the work. I was in Mexico. I went to Mexico for that very first week because I love the beach. And I remember working through that in 2019 and just getting to a place of just like total peace. And I mean total peace at the end of those 6 weeks. And I actually remember sitting at a coffee shop in Mexico and saying, I can't remember the last time. This was the second trip after that 6 weeks, at the end of the 6 weeks. And I said, I can't remember the last time I felt this good and felt this complete and felt this whole, and went off to Croatia like a month later and had the best time of my life. And it was because I felt good with where I was emotionally from a relationship standpoint, right? And so it's like we work through that in 2019. And so then he comes back and I'm like, whoa. You almost broke me. You almost broke me, buddy. I don't know about this. Right. And so it's just like full circle, unintentionally. And it's interesting because it wasn't really full circle when it came to us dealing with the heartbreak and getting me on a really good emotional foundation in 2019 to be able to even have the conversation and to step and walk into this year in 2021. Yeah. So it all comes together.
How can people find you, Donteacia? How can people find you?
I'm at Donteacia. My name is very easy. I'm like the only one in the world. So like on IG, I'm at Donteacia Seymour. And on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Donteacia. So yeah.
Beautiful. Just blessings. Thank you for sharing your story and just knowing that love is still possible no matter the age, the stage, and what you've been through, right?
Yes.
And for everyone listening in, just keep loving, keep laughing, keep living. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hello. I love you. Till next time.